Hi, this is Julio again. Lesson 7 assignment is going over culture and diversity and inclusion and the effects of it on communication. Let's just go dive right straight into it. Especially, the biggest thing about cultural diversity and inclusion is just like a lot of people are just one set mind. Especially you hear nowadays a lot. Oh, if an immigrant comes, they better learn English and everything, and that's just how it's supposed to be. It's a very one track mind. And to dive straight into that type of argument, we're gonna go ahead and start dive straight into um, my first article, which is called the inclusion, diversity, and intercultural dialogue in young people's philosophical inquiry. It is a book, and it is by the author whose name is Ching Lung Lin. Sorry, Ching Lin, and it is a book again. Let me go ahead and repeat it. Ching Lin is the author, and the book's name is Inclusion, Diversity, and Intercultural Dialogue in Young People's philosophical inquiry. And then to go further into it is just basically it starts off on whether what's it called on whether the discretion that we have nowadays, especially in classes, that discretion is something that we hold very high because we don't see a lot of people. We don't see that much diversity in cultural diversity in classes. We don't, and if we do get to see it, it's really faint and it's just poked and made fun of. And I'm not trying to say it is something funny, but it's not something people hold a really big appraisal to. A lot of little things such as chopsticks, a lot of people make fun of it and use it to poke their nose or something, and it's kind of disrespectful. I feel like to a cultural place, especially me coming as Hispanic, and I know like a lot of stuff is being used differently, and it's just, I mean, it's not like meant to be. I know it's innocently put, but it is a cultural appropriation. I feel like it is. And this book hits really big on that, on how it's discretional about being cultural diversity. And to further go on to it, we just see a lot of people choose to be sticking with what they've known, and that's not being diverse, and that's not being inclusion, and it just keeps going on to that, and it's pretty brief. It's just the attack of diversity and inclusion on a person, philosophically, okay. And it's just the way a person thinks, putting certain types of situations, coming up with theories, and seeing this type of not even like going out for diversity. It's just the people holding it in and not even looking forward to trying to better everything. And especially cultural diversity, I feel like it would help a lot more kids. It would help a lot more kids in the fact that they can become bilingual, and that's a big help. That's a big step. If they can even understand half the language I understand in Spanish, it is a big advantage for them in the field. Look, I get $1 raise in any job I take just because I'm bilingual, and in most places I can even get more than $1 raise, and that's just the truth, okay? And if we don't have this, if we were to have this diversity a lot more into classes, which I'm starting to see a lot more, I'm not gonna lie, but if it becomes mandatory, like in my high school, it was mandatory, and it was a pretty diverse high school. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty amazing. We had to learn Spanish. The first 3 years were mandatory Spanish, and then that is just diverse. You need to learn it. You need to learn the language. It's gonna help you a lot more. If you go into the job, be like, yeah, I mean, I don't understand Spanish, but I can I understand it for a pretty good brief amount of time. I can't understand every little complex word, because every region, every place, even in Latin America, you might think Latin America is all a big one. Like a lot of people think, if you're from Argentina, you're from Mexico. That's not true. Every little place in every country and even every state in Latin America is different. They have their own type of culture, their own type of diversity and everything. Each place, not each Mexican state or province isn't the same. It's completely different. So there is also that difference into it. But so it's like a lot more into it. It's a lot more in depth. Just like people here in the South are different from the people in the North in the United States region. People in the North are kind of rude. I'm not gonna lie. I've been to New York myself, and it's kind of rude. And while you're here in the South, it's a lot more friendlier. It's a lot more Southern hospitality is what you hear. And this book really hits on that. It hits on the differences on all that. And how we can incorporate a different viewpoint with inclusion or diversity. And I really like that. I really like that, into the idea that it's gonna help further the young people in our generations. Little kindergartners and everything. Now, to further move on from this book, this is something that hits a big thing. Now, think about cultural diversity, uh, and inclusion in the workplace. This is something really big. It's a big controversy, and it's something that um, is dealt on a daily basis, like literally an hourly basis, more than likely, because people are always being hired, always being put into work or something. We even hear it on the news about Hispanic people taking the work that the work in province, the working gains for many American citizens. And this is something really big, and I feel like it's a big part of management and detailing, because now, to further my motive and to further my critical thinking right here, I'm gonna go ahead and reference my last two articles I read, and I find these really important just because working is literally your life. You spend after college and after all of this, you're gonna be working to maintain your family, to maintain all of this. So reading this and finding this type of assignment is honestly really inspiring, because I'm also thinking about taking up into management my own work space. So I'm gonna be in the process of hiring people and all that. So I find this really important, especially in communication, because work is all about communication. And you work as a team, and you have goals and targets and everything, and your target is to make the most money, be the best team you can be, and have the best customer service. And that can only work if you have the best communication, diversity, cultural diversity, and just belonging together. So the first one is actually, my first reference is going to be, it's a guidebook for an H&R human resource guidebook for small businesses. It's actually called the Complete Small Business Human Resource Guide. It's a book, but I only got to a smart chapter on hiring people and how to build a culture of diversity and inclusion in your workplace. Now this book is by a guy named Andrew Blackburn, and I like it a lot because it goes over 9 different points. These 9 different points are to even first start. Let me get my notes. To first start is to create a structure. So, how are you gonna have a business if you can't create a structure, you can't create a hierarchy and everything, and what you're looking forward? Okay, so you create that structure, and then you put your emphasis on a focus, which is your second thing. Your focus on how you want this diversity to be. And then to show an example of this focus, they showed Microsoft and how they focused on gender equality. So gender, because this was a really big thing back for Microsoft. It was gender, the LGBT community, the religion, and then their personal feelings, and all that. That was their focus. So their focus was on that, and so for you to build a workspace, you need to have a structure on what you want. If you like, for me, my structure would be to have a well-oiled machine as a team, to be selling, to be profitable and everything. Especially as a bank, we're trying to get more and more account holders. Now my focus would be to hire all types of people. I want to hire a big part of just a regular person, the regular person that lives here in Sherman, the howdy fella, really strong country accent. I also want to hire bilingual people, and I really want to be more diverse. I want to be more into Middle Eastern, Asian. I want to hire all types of people. I want to have a very diverse background in my branch and my company and everything. And so that would be my focus. Now let's further go into it. Build a network. Now, to build a network, it means to build up your employees, to build up everybody around you. You just want to build. You want to build it. You want to carry on to your structure. It's just building it up and making everybody communicate. So for me to build that network, everybody needs to have each other's phone numbers, so that way they can communicate in and out and actually have a way to communicate. Okay, and the best way to build this network, I would feel, is to have everybody follow in line, could do something informal, something that doesn't have to do with it, an outing, like a little meeting. Y'all all go together. That isn't mandatory, but you make it mandatory informally. So you can all enjoy. Bring people with interests and common and likes, but have different cultural diversities and inclusions. You just bring them together so they feel like they belong. So once you do that, it helps boost everybody's morale. And then right after that, you want to put anti-discrimination. You want to put anti-discrimination laws and your contract and thoughts onto it. You want to build that up, and you want to get everybody on board and tell them we cannot be we can't be discriminatory. We want to be one track. We want to be all good and good. This workplace, we cannot have violence. We cannot have racism, prejudice, or any discrimination against any party, or any individual. And then on top of that, you have to give fair benefits to everybody. Everybody deserves the right type of benefits. If someone gets something else, you need to get that fair benefit. Just like pay back what needs to be paid. If someone's doing really good, just give them something good. If they're doing an amazing job, give them a raise, or give them an incentive or something. And then to follow up on fair with benefits, you need to accommodate everybody's needs. Now, you if you're not going to be discriminatory, you can't discriminate against people with disabilities. You're going to have to hire them as well. So let's say, people with with disabilities, they're going to need different types of equipment, special computers and all that. And that is a big deal. That is a big deal, and that is something you need to work on, especially in the workplace, and then to furthermore, you need to welcome everybody's differences. Not everybody's gonna be the same. Someone's gonna be a different color. Someone's gonna have a different accent. Someone's just gonna be different. They're gonna be different religion, different thoughts, different beliefs, political sides and views. But all of that has to take outside of the work. When you come to job, you cannot have that type of mentality. Now, we will respect your ideas and everything, but we do not. What we are trying to do is avoid these conflicts of anybody discussing, because at the end of the day, we're not trying to have the like I said, anti-discrimination, and everyone needs to get on board with that. So if you're feeling difference or something, then this isn't the workplace, and I'm gonna have to get rid of you and promote you to customer, because we are all together and this is a team, and if you feeling that type of way is going to affect the whole team, and we cannot have that. And then and then the last one is just to measure this monitor. And what that means, measure monitor, is just to have a survey back from your employees and see what you're doing, because there's a lot more you can still improve on. And that improvement is something you really need. It's something big. It's something that will help you better your culture and your diversity and inclusion in your workplace, which is something really big. And that's what I liked about this one, because you go into you talk about communication. We're in communications. This is a speech class, and we're talking about cultural and inclusion and diversity and all that. And where is the place you take most discussions, most communications? It's at work. You're gonna be talking to customers. You're gonna be talking to your coworkers and all that. This is the key place for communication, and I feel like this is the most important aspect, because hiring and all that needs to be, it has to be something broader. Now let me carry on to my next article. It's actually a magazine. It's on Forbes. What's it called? However, let me go over the title and everything to quote it. Now let me see. Let me get my notes right here. And that is not it. Right here. So it's titled "The Truth About Diversity and Why It Matters," and the author is called Shelley Zalis. And a quote I would like to go ahead and put from this place is: Diversity is an action. It's an action we take up in the workplace. It's an action because you decide to have these people in your job. You bring them in. Now, inclusion diversity is a cultural. It's when you start making this a culture. You start making these people, picking different people and everything. That's their culture, and it's just a culture. Okay. It starts building up, and it's something that is learned and taught, and it starts showing. Especially in the workplace, it's a different culture in the workplace than it is at home. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's a different culture for me. Whenever I'm at work, when I talk to my peers and everything, we have different. There's a different way of talking with them than there is at work. You know, even when I try to talk to my family about my job, try to tell them jokes or anything like that, they won't understand. They just can never understand because they're not part of that culture. They don't understand that banking culture, that type of stuff. It just becomes something different. And that inter interclusion diversity is a culture. It's just different, you know. And then the next thing is belonging. Now, belonging as it is a powerful word, and you heard it before. I kind of stressed it a little bit when I was discussing it here. It's a feeling. Belonging is a feeling, and that is something that we are trying to achieve with now at work. Now, to carry on to what I was thinking, this right here, this article is the cream of the crop. It's what rounds everything I've been saying up to now. What this article says is basically that these people in the jobs, hiring, small businesses, everything, the majority of managers, the majority of management, matter of fact, is 95% white Americans. People that are just used to it, 80%, 87%, all of that. The high numbers, all these high numbers of elections, everything, are the common people, white Americans. And now the rest of the 5%, a handful of these management people are black, African Americans, Hispanics, Middle Eastern, Asians, all those, and then on top of all these 95%, these 5%, you could throw in the 10% of handful of LGBT, gender people, disabled people, and all that. Now, what I'm trying to get to, what this article says, is that people fear change. People hate change, and it's something that they can't get through, and it's clearly a big problem. Because without this change, without this difference, we're just going to be one-sided, one broad, and it's going to be one train. If we were to add these different culture, diversity, and inclusions, who knows the branches that could stretch out for major corporations, the big things that could happen. We're talking about globalization at this point. In the book that we have, it says if we were to go off globalization and just pick a handful of people, 590 would be Asians. A good 129 would be Middle Eastern. And then 59 would be blacks. And then 52 would be Hispanics, and then then the rest, it'd be like 23 or 12 would be white Americans. Because in the idea of globalization, the workers, minorities, then the peers right just above them but aren't like close to management or anything, minorities as well. Management, you guessed it, white Americans, white people, just like, it's because people fear change, and they agree, and they are so much more comfortable with hiring people that are compatible, look the same like them, and everything. And this is what this article goes over. And it's something that we can't see, we just can't find, and is honestly something that is a major downfall for a lot of organizations. Now, if you see a company doing really good in the stocks and everything, you know why? Because it's culturally diverse in all types of aspects, at the very core of it, and it is in many research as included in this article. In research that this article states, 35% people who use cultural diversity are likelier to financially outperform a lot of people. 35%, that's a high number, and that's just because a lot of businesses aren't being culturally diverse. And if you find more diverse people, you will find better decision making, better everything, because it's a lot more open mind, a lot more out thinking, critical thinking, when you just choose people who are just like you. Because if you choose people who are just like you, who are compatible, who have the same mindset, they're going to choose the same exact thing like you, and they're going to have the same thinking like you, instead of having someone who is different, who has a different culture, who has a different background, who has a different mindset. They will give you your faults, where your faults, every pro and con to your argument and your thought and your basis. And this is what I like about this article. It hits on that. You want to find a different mindset. You want to find someone who's different than you. You know why? Because that someone different is going to make something better. Is going to carry on from what you teach them, and is going to put their own little twist into it. And that's why we want different. And instead of finding someone compatible who's just going to be just like you and everything, you want to find someone who puts a different twist into it and makes what you put better, and makes it into something totally new and something totally beautiful. And that is honestly my thought into it. And what I've learned from this is just, I went to more of a professional thought of hiring and everything, and I've just found a better idea. Like I said, like I honestly, it's just something I've been knowing. Diversity leads to something more beautiful. At first, it's gonna be a rough end, because there's gonna be a lot of difference. But if you play your cards right, if you get everybody to find common interests, become friends and everything, you're gonna have an amazing team. You're gonna have an amazing workforce, and you're gonna make amazing relationships and friends. And that's what this diversity is all about, and is what this country has been built on, and it's something we can carry on with. But like I said, this is lesson 6. That was my conclusion, and yeah, definitely. Thank you, Miss Eager.